This week on the Bedroom Talk Show, we are discussing from being a felon to an entrepreneur. It's the second chance for me. With your host, you already know, Crystal J. And this week featured guest is VaShaun Nicole. Stay tuned for this incredible story. Hey, you guys, it's your girl, Crystal J, and I'm back. You already know with another dope interview. I'm interviewing another Black queen, and I'm super excited for this interview because, first off, let's start off by saying it's the second chance for me. Number one, she went from being a felon to an entrepreneur. She makes over 6 figures a year. So let's see how she got into this bag, and let's get to know her. So, I'm finna introduce my guest, VaShaun Nicole. Hey, VaShaun.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. And if you're watching this video, please share, like, comment, subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to share her story as well on all my podcast platforms. And don't forget to tell a friend about the Bedroom Talk Show because I'm going to keep interviewing Black queens so we can get the recognition that we deserve. So, can you tell us your story?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, first, I want to thank you for having me on your show. I love to support Black women doing their thing. That's something I'm very passionate about. So, you mentioned that I was a felon and now I'm an entrepreneur. Yes, I tell people that explicitly, and I want to tell Black women especially, take ownership of your story. No one can shame me of anything that I've ever done because I take the power back from my story. So I don't feel ashamed. I feel empowered. So I'll start from the beginning on how I was a two-time felon to now I am a serial entrepreneur. So at 19 years old, I faced 25 years in prison. And I tell people the story just like this. I was a good girl that got hooked up with some bad guys, and they were involved in some activities that I don't get into necessarily specifically because I think it's very important that when you tell your story and when you tell your truth, make sure you don't tell somebody else's story and their truth. So everybody doesn't feel as open to talk about what happened. So again, I just limited to just that. So at 19 years old, I faced 25 years at prison, and I was very distraught at this time. I was very, very, very distraught because prior to that, I never even had a speeding ticket. I am a product of a preacher. My mother's a preacher. My father's a master sergeant in the Marines. I was just a good girl that got wrapped up with some bad guys. So it was a 2-year process, my court proceedings and such. We went through the process, and the judge sided with me, citing that I did not have anything to do with the crimes that I was charged with. It was the company that I kept at the time. Unfortunately, the judge thought I knew more than what I was saying. So I got charged with 2 years probation. So I got 2 years probation. So I have the violent crime felonies on my record for 7 years. And that was kind of the downside of everything that happened. I had the charges on my record for 7 years. So for 7 years, I had to wait to get my record expunged. And if anybody has ever gone through the expungement process, it is an arduous task. It is a very hard thing to go through. So from the age of 19 to 26, I tell people I had hundreds of jobs. I went through temp services and temp services and temp services to provide for myself and for my children. It was very hard because once the temp service ran my background and saw those felony charges, even though that I was not convicted of any of these crimes, the charges were still on my record. I would get fired. So literally, there were weeks at a time that I would go to 2 or 3 places and go in for the job, go in for the interview, knock out the interview, and as soon as they ran my background, I would get fired. So that was a process for me for 6 years. And in the midst of that, I had to navigate social services spaces because I was a young single mother. By the time I was 22, I had 2 children under the age of 2. So I had to make some really hard and direct decisions on what I needed to do to be a good mother and to provide for my children. So, as I said earlier, at 26 years old, I was able to get my record expunged. When I got my record expunged, that was I say my defining moment. That was the moment that I decided, you know what? I'm not who I was. I'm not who I was involved with. I'm not what happened to me. I'm going to take control of the narrative of my life and I'm going to continue to write my story. So I worked for entry level administrative positions. And by the time I was 29 years old, I made it all the way to corporate America. I was the executive assistant to the vice president of global services operations for a Fortune 500 company. I was one of the youngest executives in my office. I moved up pretty quickly because I was a hard worker. I worked really hard. I did well there. And I felt like I made it. Like a lot of us get to corporate America and we feel like that's it. But I knew there was more to life than just making money and just being successful for myself and for my family. And so that was just something that I battled with and something that I toyed with in my mind. I said, I got to figure this out. I need to do more again than just being successful for myself. 3 years into my position, we got an email one day that our entire department, was getting shipped overseas to the Philippines. So I had to make a decision. I said, I can go get another corporate position or I can actually move and actually do something for other people. I can move into entrepreneurship. And it was at that moment in 2015 that I decided to become an entrepreneur. So my first business is called VaShaun Nicole Enterprises, and that is a full service publishing house and marketing firm. And what I did is I used my years of social media experience. I used the connectivity and the social capital that I earned in the corporate sector, and I built my own business. So from the ground up, I began to tell my story. The first book that we published was my book. My first book is called Behind Her Eyes. And I talk about my story from Felon to making it to corporate America, because that was unheard of at the time. So I ended up getting a deal with Barnes and Noble. I ended up getting a deal with Joseph Beth Booksellers. And I toured throughout my state. I had book signings and doing a lot of inspirational speaking and a lot of book signings. And I just had great success. And it was a great inspirational moment. It almost felt like my defining moment. Like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to encourage people to, one, again, don't let anybody tell your story. You tell your own story. And you don't let anybody else hold the pen when your story is being written. You are the only one that holds that pen. So I'm the only one that tells my story my way. And so I was able to encourage people, but I knew there was way more than life than just being inspirational and encouraging. There's nothing wrong with that, but I knew I wanted to make a bigger impact. So at the time that I started my publishing house and marketing firm in 2015, I had a little side hustle. I would help people get jobs. because I made it to the corporate sector. I had friends who were like, "Hey, VaShaun, can you look at my resume? Can you look, can you give me some tips on interviewing? Can you show me how to get my foot in the door?" And that was something that I did on the side. Well, I did that on the side until it turned into its own business. So in 2018, I launched my second business, VaShaun Nicole Consulting. We are a full service alternative staffing organization, and we provide employment opportunities as well as auxiliary services for those with criminal barriers, criminal challenges, and young single mothers. And the reason that we focus on this demographic is because I was a part of that demographic. I went to temp agencies. I wanted a chance and I could not get a chance. So now I'm able to leverage who I was in corporate America, what I was able to accomplish as an entrepreneur to give people opportunities to be gainfully employed. And so 2018, when I launched my business, a hedge fund group here in Louisville, Kentucky, reached out to me and said, "Hey, VaShaun, we have a whole bunch of jobs. If you can get some good people into these jobs, we'll take a chance on you." So I was able to offer second chance staffing to individuals here in the city and had great success with that. It was I love what I get to do. I love helping people, but I found yet another issue. I don't know if any of you all have ever needed social services, Section 8, food stamps, Medicaid, child care contracts. Navigating the social services space is extremely daunting and it's extremely hard. And I was like, it has to be an easier way to get people access to the services that they need. There has to be an easier way to get people that need the help that they need. So I was looking for years. I was looking for resources. I was looking for a website. I was looking for an app and I couldn't find it. So in 2020, I decided to stop asking questions and to become the answer myself. So in 2020, I launched a minority woman-owned tech startup called VaShaun Nicole Technologies. And right now we are creating technology that helps people that are disenfranchised, helps people that need social services and help navigate in that space. We are building technology, applications, and websites to help people through that process. And so we launched that in 2020. I'm very excited in the midst of a global pandemic. I need y'all to hear me clearly. In the midst of a global pandemic, I launched my third business. Right now, we are working with a very large computer company as well as a federal agency to develop out this product. And by the end of the year, VaShaun Nicole is going to be making some very big announcements. So I'm excited about that. In the midst of all of that, I don't know if Crystal told you all, I have other businesses. We have VaShaun Nicole Advisors. So I actually help entrepreneurs become entrepreneurs. It's really hard for women of color, and I'm going to say this specifically, Black women, to get the resources and to get the access that our counterparts get. So I'm able to leverage the resources that I have. I'm able to leverage the connections that I have to help people in entrepreneurship. So if you are a startup or if you're working your way more towards the tech side, I help people in all of those spaces as well. I have two more businesses that we will be launching by the end of the year. Y'all keep an eye out on me. I will release those in the next coming months. So I said all of that to say this. Just because you make a mistake when you're young doesn't mean you have to live that mistake for the rest of your life. I could have taken what they said about me and made that my story. I could have been that young single mother. I could have been that felon. I could have been that person that made mistakes, being at the wrong place at the wrong time. I could have been everything that society and that my background said about me, but I decided to grab the pen and I decided to write another story to tell people anything's possible if you put your mind to it.
Okay, I admire that. I wanted you to tell your story because number one, we all know felons they get looked at, they get looked down on upon. People tell you ain't gonna amount to anything, or you got a felon for this, or you can't work for this company. I think it's unfortunate that felons can't get a second chance to turn it around. I'm not sure. Did my audio break up when I said that?
Just a little
bit.
Just a little bit.
I think it's unfortunate that felons can't get it. get looked upon that differently because they got a record.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody deserves a second chance in life. I fully believe that. Just because I did something when I was young and dumb, I'm 30 now. I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to shoot for what I need to be in life. So I think your story is very
Mm-hmm.
incredible. What I really love about your
Thank you.
story, you never but you also respecting the other people who are involved into
Mm-hmm.
you getting that charge. I
Mm-hmm.
even talking to you before on for live. You have been very respectful to the people, and there you haven't said names. And I know it took you forever to expunge your record, which took 7 years. I don't know why it takes so
Mm-hmm.
long for people to expunge their record. I think they need to work on that in particular because it
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't take this many years and this much money. It's all about the money. It shouldn't take all this money to expunge my record for me to better my life and me to be better. But you don't
Right.
want. But I feel like the government is designed for us, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna mean it. It's designed for Black people not to do better. It's designed for us to stay
Mm-hmm.
down. So I don't want you to expunge
Mm-hmm.
your record. I want you to get back into the system, and
Mm-hmm.
I want you to stay in the system because I'm
Exactly.
making money off of you. We are paying
Mm-hmm.
money, dollars on you. So I
Mm-hmm.
want you to get back locked up for you can't be a better version of who you're supposed to be.
Exactly. Exactly. It's part of this. I'll call it straight out. It's part of the systemic racism. There are things that are placed to keep us behind the curve. But the deal is, I tell people all the time, don't use that as an excuse. Loopholes are found everywhere. Figure it out. I worked until I was able to get off, until I was able to get my record expunged. And then once I got my record expunged, I positioned myself and I got a seat at the table. After I got a seat at the table, guess what I said? Hello, my name is VaShaun Mosby, VaShaun Nicole. 19, at 19 years old, I was charged with two felony crimes and faced 25 years in prison. Why do you feel some kind of way about that? And then they're looking at me like,
Mm-hmm.
what? Now I'm putting their implicit bias back in their face. Why do you feel some kind of way about that? I told you about a story of triumph. I told you about a story of making something of myself. But why do you feel some kind of way just because I told you I was a felon? Why should that limit any
I think it's
possibility
a power.
that I have right now?
I think it's a power thing. It's a power thing. It has
Absolutely.
to be a power. It
Absolutely.
when I look at the government and when I look at everything and just being real, I'm sorry, my connection. I see it, you guys. I'm sorry, my connection is kind of bad. I don't know what's going on. So give me a second. Okay. Is it better now? Okay, I think it's better now. So I don't
Yes.
think the government is designed for Black people, period. And when I say Black people, I'm talking about brown people too. Because like I said, when you get that charge, they want you to keep going in and out the system so they can make money off of you. That is no other way
Mm-hmm.
to put that into words. You are nothing but a dollar sign to these corporations.
Mm-hmm.
The private prisons make money off of people that's in
Yes.
there. Like, do you not know how many
Yes.
innocent people are locked up today of color and
Mm-hmm.
brown? Do you not
Mm-hmm.
know? You can say I'm innocent, but it don't matter. You're money to them. But let me not
Right.
get too passionate, y'all, because y'all know how I am about being Black. I'm proud of Black.
But you're right. You're absolutely right. And I feel that same passion. And that's the kind of passion that fuels me to keep on creating businesses and creating opportunities. And I'm very careful. I want to be inclusive to everybody, but Black women specifically. I got a seat at the table, so I'm making sure there's women around me that have seats at the table too. So if I make my way up the ladder, I'm sitting the ladder back down saying, sis, come this way. This is how you can get it done. This is how you can get stuff done, and you don't have to fish fry and shuck and jive your way through life. You can actually take advantage of federal dollars and federal money and do something with your life and make an impact and a change.
Yes, you know what? The seat at the table thing. Let me tell you, that's the reason why I have the bedroom talk show. I can interview, but I can interview.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, you guys, but I can interview Black queens as yourself. That is the reason why I
Mm-hmm.
have my platform. It's literally about me creating a seat of Black women and occasionally black men too, that can come in and teach my audience new things, open our mindsets to new things. And I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on with my internet today, guys. I'm so sorry. Um, but when you said create the table, I wish we all thought
Mm-hmm.
about that. All thought about creating a table for our
Mm-hmm.
people. Like I'm not saying I'm against other races. I'm just more stronger, and I stand more for black women, a black
Mm-hmm.
woman, because I get enough credit. We don't get enough
Yes.
recognition, and we are too
No.
strong as black women not to stand together as black
Mm-hmm.
queens. And I hope
Absolutely.
y'all understand.
Absolutely. I say it all the time. We are better together. I say it all the time. There is no I don't see competition. I don't compete with anybody because I tell people all the time there's a lot of money out here and there's a lot of opportunity out here. And why are you trying to compete with another sister? You can collaborate and go get a bigger bag. So I refuse to compete with anybody. Refuse. I don't put you
I
on
don't even
before I
see the
put
point of
myself
competing.
on.
I don't see the point of competing. Like why
Mm-mm.
compete when we can go in this together? We can cheer each other
Right.
on. Like why compete?
Right.
I'm not into that. Oh, my friend doing better than me. I'm jealous. No, I'm clapping you. I'm cheering you on. Go sis. Go sis. Go. That's my friend.
Right.
Right. That's my mentality.
Yes.
But I know a lot of people don't have that mentality. A lot of people want to say, "Oh,
Mm-mm.
your friend wish on your downfall," or your cousin or your
Mm-hmm.
family. No, I don't know. Oh yes, and Vaughn, I want to know. I want you to know your video is frozen, but your audio is good. Mine's is kind of choppy. It's so crazy because we're having a great conversation, and it's
Yes.
I don't know. The universe don't want us to have this conversation about being in prison in society. They really don't want us to have that. It's crazy.
This
I'm gonna use
empowerment. It's too much empowerment.
it's too much because you've been froze since the beginning. Like even
Oh
if you just
wow.
want to cut, you've been froze for a minute. I noticed it, but your audio was fine, so I didn't say anything. Um,
Wow.
you kind of must said this question, but I'm gonna get right into this question. What made you want to turn your life around? You're a two-time felon. You're 21 years old. You have two
Mm-hmm.
kids. So what was your mindset at 21 with two kids being a single mom?
Well, I was 22 when I had my second child. So I was
Hmm.
22 with the two babies. I had my son when I was 20 years old. And when I had my son, that was my defining moment. I will never forget the day that I picked him up and I looked at his face and I said, you know what? I have a purpose, and it's more than just all of the bad decisions and the mistakes and such. I need to do this for him. So, my defining moment was looking into my son's eyes and saying, I need to create a future for you so you will never have to go through what I went through. A lot of people say they want their children to go through their struggle. I struggle for my children. So, my children and my grandchildren will never see the level of struggle that I did. So once I had my son, that was like my defining moment. Boom, I got to make something of my life. When I had my daughter, and my daughter looks just like me, like looking into a mirror, and I was like, I want my daughter to be the best parts of me. I want her to be everything that I didn't even think that I could be. I want my ceiling to be her floor so she can launch and do exploits. I want her to feel like she could be the next president if she feels like she could be. So I want to create the kind of life to ensure the success of my children.
I love that. I kind of pretty much knew that answer, but I wanted to hear what she was going to say. So,
Yeah,
researching you, what programs do you have for single moms and felons, since that is your background?
absolutely. So right now I am in the development stage. It's very interesting when I tell people that I work with single mothers and then when I work with felons. The first question is, VaShaun, are you a nonprofit? No, I am a for-profit corporation. I have for-profit corporations with deep social missions. So VaShaun Nicole Consulting right now is working with several agencies to create opportunities for young single mothers, for felons, and to get us again a seat at the table. So I want you all to stay tuned if you're not following me on social media, and you will see what we have coming about. One of the biggest projects that I'm working on is how to get people's records expunged quicker. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that I had to wait 7 years for charges that I wasn't even charged with. So the charges had to fall off my record, and it took 7 years for that. So right now we are working with legal, we're working with governmental officials to figure out a way um, to update this expungement process. So that is one of my biggest projects. There's several organizations that are working with me right now, and my prayer is by the end of this year we'll have an answer to say, listen, you could have made a decision as a teenager, you could have made a decision as a young person, but it doesn't have to follow you for the rest of your life. So that's what we're currently working on.
I love
Yes,
what the roommate said. Yes, I need this. We struggle so they don't. I agree.
yes.
I'm sorry. I removed myself as I was talking.
Oh
Yes, I
no.
agree. We struggle so our kids don't have to. That's the point of us,
Yes,
me trying to build an empire to lead to my child. So,
yes,
same thing with her. So
absolutely.
my next question for you is: do you have any advice for someone who is a felon looking to turn life around?
Yes. I tell people all the time, I don't chase money. A lot of people feel like they just have to get to the money. If you have to get to the money, get to the money. I tell people, find your purpose. What is your why? What wakes you up in the morning? What motivates you to do something? That is where you're going to find your largest level of success. I found the more that I chased my purpose, the money and everything else followed that. So don't be distracted and deterred by money. Be motivated and pushed by purpose. Once you find your purpose, you'll find everything that you ever look for in life. You'll find success, you'll find your reasons, you'll find your motivation, you'll find opportunities and everything else connected to that.
You know, it's funny. It's funny you say that because I agree with that entire statement. When you stop chasing the money and you start
Hmm.
focusing more on your purpose,
Hmm.
everything will just start
Hmm.
coming to you. I mean, you will just be like, "Oh, for real, did that just happen?"
Hmm.
That is a fact. I agree with what you
Yes.
just said. And it's
Yes.
funny you talk about telling your story. I feel like our stories are so powerful, and it's so funny. A couple episodes ago, one of my guests was saying how powerful it is to tell your story because nobody can duplicate your story. They can duplicate your
Mm-mm.
business, but they can't duplicate your story because that's what you went through in your life, in your journey, in your passion, and whatever the case may be. I think we have a comment. Let's see.
And I was going to add something to that before you get to your comment. I said my mother's a preacher. I was licensed into ministry years and years ago. And there's a part of the Bible, I don't like to throw this on everybody, but there's a part of the Bible says we overcome by the power of our testimony. So if you want to know where your power comes from, it actually comes from your story. That's what your testimony is. It's your story. So once you take that power back, you will realize how powerful you really are.
I agree. Like once you take your story and make it your purpose,
That's
you
it.
know the passion that comes from your story is you
Mm-hmm.
not trying to copy nobody else and you focusing on
Mm-hmm.
what's in front of you. Your life
Mm-hmm.
changed, and then your mindset will change too. But people don't realize how powerful it is to change your mindset. And
Absolutely.
in each topic I had on this episode on this season, it had all went back to one thing: changing your mindset. And if you can't change
Mm-hmm.
your mindset, you can't change your life. You can't change your pockets. If you keep saying
Absolutely.
I'm financially broke, you're gonna always be financially broke. But
Mm-hmm.
we gonna get to the next question, you guys. I got some good questions for you guys. Um, so the next question is, I know the answer to this one though, but do you feel that people view you differently after having a record? When I this question, what I mean by this question is when they first meet you, they don't know anything about you, right? And they find you a felon. How do they view you? And then even when they do know all about you, how do they still feel about you being a two-time felon?
So I work it in reverse. So I tell people about all of the successes that I've had in business. So I was able to scale 3 businesses. I didn't have any large backing behind me. I didn't have any large support. I grew my social capital from grassroots all the way up. I have a lot of grit. I have a lot of corporate savvy. I have a lot of business acumen. I work really hard to make these things happen. And they're like, "Oh, that's great." And then I circle back. But when I was 19 years old, I was a 2-time felon. And so then they stop. They're like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, "Okay, so right there, that pause, whatever that was, why do you feel any differently about me? My success is not diminished, and there's nothing that changed in my story. There's nothing that changed about me. I am not my mistake. So why do you feel differently?" So when people feel some kind of way, I don't take it and put it on me. I put it right back on them. Why do you feel some kind of way? What is that implicit bias that you have? Because I am not my mistakes. I'm not what decision that I made at 19 years old. I will be 40 years old this year. I am not that 19-year-old girl. So tell me, why do you feel differently about anything that I've said? And so that makes them have to do a heart check. Now they have to check themselves. Now they have to think, why do I feel different? Why do I have these biases? And when you put the responsibility back on them, they have to do the work with themselves and figure out why they feel some kind of way, because you are the same person that sat in that seat and told them about successes and they were excited about that. So now they're going to have to do some hard check and do a hard check and do some inside work to figure out why they feel differently about you.
And the reason I asked that question because I just know people view people differently that have a record. I used to work for a temp agency when I was 19, and when the temp agency found out people who had a record, they get terminated really
Mm-hmm.
quickly. And they was
Mm-hmm.
good people. They was good workers. I saw it was this
Mm-hmm.
one guy, I'll never forget him. He had a wife and he couldn't keep a job because he was a felon. And he really just wanted to do better for his wife and his kids. And he was trying to provide. And
Mm-hmm.
he was always on time. He was a good employee. The only reason they let that man go was because he was a felon. And I said, and I was like, I think I was 19 or 20 at the time. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
the world is that heartless.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I learned. And it was this guy who worked at my job. He was good. He was sweet. He spoke to everybody. He did his job. So when my job found out he was a felon, he got fired. So I asked my coworker, so what happened? They said, oh, well, he was a felon. I was like, I thought you put yes now, they would still have a job. But
And there are some instances where it is a safety issue and such, but we don't give people the opportunity to again grow, because there's some white collar crimes that are just bad as some of these felonious crimes that we see out here, and we don't say anything about it because it's white collar crime. It's crime that's done in the corporate sector. There's money being moved around. There's money being stolen, and they may have
they
drug
clean money.
charges. uh, and just because that they're in a different part of their life and have different opportunities, those crimes don't have to follow them for the rest of their life. So that's why I'm really working on this expungement process, because I don't think it's fair. It's not
It's not.
fair.
And it's funny because I think it's really towards the black people and the people of the brown people because we don't have the funds to pay a lawyer
Mm-hmm.
$10,000 and whatever the cost may be to expunge his record really quickly. We don't
Mm-hmm.
have those funds.
Exactly.
We don't
Exactly.
have that. We don't have a rich daddy we can go to and be like, Dad, I messed up. Can I have some money?
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
Exactly.
I know that may sound
Exactly.
really harsh to some people who are watching or listening to this episode, but I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm a black woman. I'm a black mom. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
black mom of a black son. So I think
Listen.
differently. I don't look at the world how people of not color look at the world. Just and
Mm-hmm.
I get very passionate when I say that because yeah, that's a whole nother episode. Y'all
Mm-hmm.
ain't ready
It is.
because people don't realize how passionate I am about being black.
Mm-hmm.
Black.
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard,
And
but
and
but
when you
we
passionate
but we
about being
can't use
black,
that.
they think you racist. They think you anti-white. I'm like, why? I'm not anti anything. I love all races. Even though other races didn't give me the opportunity because of color of my skin, but that's a whole nother conversation. You
Hmm.
know.
Well, I tell
Um,
people all the time, just because I'm pro black does not mean I'm anti white.
that
I'm
part.
pro everybody. I'm
Me
pro
too.
everybody.
Yep,
Hmm.
me too. And but I would reach out to interview more black queens than any other race.
Hmm.
Period. I would write
That's your
more
prerogative.
children books for black kids than any other race. I may write
Hmm.
a book for another race one day, but that's not my focus. That's not my mission. That's not my purpose. That most
Hmm.
definitely ain't my why, and that ain't my story. So I feel you when you said
Okay.
that. I feel you.
Hmm.
A lot of people, they don't feel us. Now I know you said this in the beginning. For anybody who just came in, this is the question. I would love for you to share with my audience, what did you do for 7 years in hope of creating a better life for yourself and your children? If you just tuning in, listen to her answer.
One, there was a point, like I said, I knew I needed to get a job and I knew I wouldn't be able to just apply for a job. So I went the temporary route. Well, the thing with that is, once they ran my background, I would get fired. So when I say I had hundreds of jobs, I literally had so many jobs. Some places I forgot that I even worked at. I remember I passed a place back in Lexington, and I was like, wait a minute, I think I worked at one point in time. I literally had hundreds and hundreds of jobs working for different temporary agencies, and what I would do, I would apply for every single temporary agency. This is back in the day when I had phone books. I would apply for every single temporary agency in the book. I would just go down the list, apply. I'll take any job that you have. I have a high skill set in administration, high business acumen back then at that point in time. And so I went in the administrative and business fields and I just took job after job. Every time I got fired, I would go to another agency, I would get another job. And I kept working because I had two small children that depended on me.
I think it's dope how us moms and some dads too. I'm not, I don't bash men on my platform, you guys. I think it's dope how us parents, let me change that. When we have
Mhm.
to make a way out of no way, we make a way so we can show our kids what we don't want them to do, what we don't want them to live.
Absolutely.
I want you to come into this. I want you to come into this mindset that your mom is getting. I want you to come to this money, this knowledge that I'm learning. I want to pass this knowledge to you. And I hope you pass to my
Mhm.
grandkids. And I hope you pass to my great grandkids. I think it's dope how most women I have interviewed, we are all trying to create an empire for our kids. I find that dope.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you said 40, you had to be 40. 40 where? Where's like
40
where?
where? August 5th, 1981. What you talking about, baby? I'm getting better with age, honey.
Girl,
Listen.
40 where?
I
Like
will be 40 in August, honey. Listen, 40. My
40.
baby is 19. My son, he'll be 19 years old this year. My daughter will be 17.
Okay. Yeah,
I'm
I'm
getting
just
better.
saying 40
No
where?
makeup. Listen, I'm saying, listen. Take
Yes,
care of
we
yourself,
do.
honey.
Right. Well, I wear makeup. I'm not gonna say I don't wear makeup. I wear
Ain't
makeup.
no, there's nothing wrong with it. And I do wear makeup sometimes, but most of the time, no.
I wear it all the time. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Thank you, sweetheart. I'm seeing the comments. Thank you, ladies. Listen, if you take care of yourself, I promise you, moisturize that skin. You look like that at 40, honey.
That I do need to do that. I'm trying to see that I
Hmm.
get all of my good questions because I had some good questions for you. Like I was just like
Okay.
it was just flowing out my head. Okay, so hold on.
Yes.
Could you describe the difficulties? Sorry, a felon faces starting over and trying to get on track. Like what
Yeah.
do a felon getting out, trying to just I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna change my life. Like what are some hard times? Like tell me.
I would say motivation. When you get told no, and when you get shut out, and when people keep you away from opportunities, it becomes a point of contention for you. It becomes very hard for you. You have to literally, as an entrepreneur, and I'm a serial entrepreneur, I have to motivate myself every day. Do I feel inspired every day? No. Do I feel like it's candy, gumdrops, and roses every day? Absolutely not. I have bad days. I've made mistakes. I've fumbled the bag before, but you know what? My ambition tells me, and the fact that I have these children, it tells me that I have to keep going. There's somebody dependent on me to be successful. There's somebody dependent on me to make it. I want somebody to look at me and say, you know what? I kept going because you kept going. So that's what motivates me. So I feel like the further that I go, I know I'll be able to reach back and help the next person. So the difficulties is keeping yourself motivated, but it is a mental thing. It is a mental thing every single day. You just have to stay to it and say, listen, I'm going to be successful by any means.
I love that. Yes, I'm going to be successful by any means. And I have a child to
By any
depend
means.
on me. Yes,
That's it.
I,
That's
I had
it.
to I had to snap for that. Oh yeah, no commercial breaks today. I'm gonna tell you why we ain't doing no commercial breaks today. I feel like this topic was so important to have, and I needed anybody who's listening, watching, listen to them in your car to understand this how serious this topic was. So I didn't want no commercials
Mhm.
playing during this episode. I just wanted her to share her story, her truth, and I wanted other people to be inspired to do better. If you don't have a felon and you're not trying to do better in your life, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting on? This queen right here, I'm sorry, this queen right here should inspire you. That is why I interview Black queens. I want to say it one more time. This is why I interview Black queens because our stories are so untouchable. You can't remix them.
Mm-mm.
You can't.
Mm-mm.
So I just wanted to put that out there because I do have like maybe a few more questions. I know you wrote a
Okay,
book.
I
I
did.
know you, and I know you help your mom publish her book as well. I know you have a publish house as
Hmm.
well.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I want you to tell us about your books.
Okay, perfect. My first book is called Behind Her Eyes. A little fun fact about me, my eyes are naturally two different colors. You can't see behind my glasses, but my eyes change two different colors every time I go to sleep: green, gray, brown, blue, whatever combination of colors. So Behind Her Eyes was kind of a play on the fact that my eyes are two different colors, and then behind your eyes, what is it? What is right behind your eyes? Your mind. So I spoke about my mind and what I thought about my story. So from the age of 19 to 29, that's where I detail in explicit detail my story, my testimony, what I went through to get to where I am. My second book is called 365 Days of Attacks But God. Now, this is a different book. It is an inspirational biography. Excuse me, it is an inspirational devotional. My first book is an inspirational biography about my life. My second book is an inspirational devotional, and I co-wrote that book with my mother. My mother has been my right hand, my backbone, my side, my front, everything else. So we co-wrote this book, 365 Days of Attacks But God. And in that book, we detail the other side of success. We detail what happens when you do all these great things, the attacks against your mind, the attacks against your body, the attacks against your finances, the attacks against anything attached to you. You're not going to be able to go forward and be positive all the time without something happening to you. There's going to be some sort of attack. So we talked about that, but we don't stay and harp on the attack. We talked about how we got through it. I am very clear on this. I am unabashedly Christian. I love God. And so my relationship with God got me through some of my lowest and hardest times. And we talk about that in my second book, 365 Days of Attack. Now, my third book, which I have not even announced yet, I need y'all to be very clear and keep a lookout of my social media. I think Crystal put it on put it across the bottom right here, just VaShaun. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter. You can Google my name and find me. But my third book is going to probably be my best seller. It is going to be my best seller. I can't even tell y'all the title of the book yet because it's about to make so much of an impact. But I want y'all to stay tuned. There are a lot of big things that happen by the end of this year. So I want y'all to stay tuned for that book. That details the journey from the age of 29 to 39. So I talk about what life looks like after being a two-time felon, after having young children, after divorce, after mistakes, after hot girl summer, after hot girl summer, and then becoming a minister. Listen, I tell the real truth all the way to scaling my tech company. So y'all stay on the lookout for that as well. Yes, I tell it all, honey.
You heard me, Dave. You said after Hot Girl Summer.
After,
It
listen,
wasn't called Hot Girl Summer back then for y'all. It was called
no,
Freaknik
uh,
Summer for y'all.
oh, wait a minute, that's in the 90s. Wait a minute.
Oh, it's 90s. It is
Yeah,
90s. I don't know what
you
y'all
tell me we
called
oh
y'all
oh
back
okay.
then.
I don't
You,
even know. Lord have mercy. What? 5-star chicks. Y'all remember that 5-star chick? Yeah, we were a 5-star chick.
oh
So yeah,
yeah,
back
that that
I was a
that's
five
your
star.
era.
Yeah. That's my era. So that's what yeah. After I got divorced, there was a whole thing that happened after I got divorced. I talk about that, and I talk about my journey of being single again, and then welcoming a new man into my life. Listen, y'all, that story is going to be good. So be on the lookout for that as well.
You, I can't believe you have this many businesses. Yeah, she has over 6 businesses. She's a two-time felon. She has 2 kids. Um, if this interview, this episode, podcast did not inspire you, I'm gonna need you to look in that mirror and get some stuff out your system because this episode alone should have inspired anybody. I don't really have much to say after that. I asked all my questions. I mean, because most of them you answered without knowing. So I was like, well,
Oh wow.
I was like, I'm
Okay.
just leave it like that. Um,
Uh-huh.
I enjoyed you. Thank you for the
Well,
lights.
thank you.
Periscope, thank you for the lights. I know you guys are liking it. You got commented, but thank you guys so much. And thank you for all my viewers who tune in every Monday at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So, did you have anything else you want to add before I close this episode out?
I want to leave your audience with 2 words. Keep going. Keep going. No matter what happens, keep going. You take a hit, keep going. You fumbled a bag, keep going. You made a mistake, keep going. You don't have a good day, keep going. You don't have a good idea, keep going. Your kids act crazy, keep going. That man leave you, keep going. Listen, no matter what happens in your life, keep going. Your persistence is going to get you to where you want to be.
Oh, that was a word. Oh, you did say you was a minister.
I did.
You did say you was a minister. I forgot that part. And it's so crazy. I have a minister I'm trying to interview. Hopefully June. She's got to book her episode. She was in prison for 18 years and now she's a pastor.
Wow. Wow. I would definitely tune in for that. I know she's
18
got a story.
years.
I know she's got
She
a
has
story to tell.
When I tell y'all her story would make you cry and you be like,
Mm,
you went to prison for 18 years and now you a pastor. Girl,
mm,
her story
wow.
is, and people don't realize how dope felons are because they don't
Mm-hmm,
get in the chance to open their mouth and
mm,
talk. And when I'm saying when she a pastor, when she talked and tell her story, I said I gotta
mm,
envy you,
mm-hmm.
girl.
Yes.
And you just proved my point. Give felons a chance. Give felons a chance to
Mm-hmm,
let their voice be heard. And for you can learn from them. They know more stuff than us because they be in there reading books all the time.
mm-hmm.
We
Educating and
doing our
test.
phones on social media, right? Y'all learn way more than us when you think about it. You been there flipping books, reading.
Mm-hmm.
You had nothing but time, but to learn and elevate your mind. You have nothing but time.
Absolutely.
That's how I look at prison, but
Mm-hmm.
I can be wrong because I never been, and Lord forbid, I don't never go.
No.
I'm praying I never go. So I don't never say never because when you say never, then it happens. So I don't say never. I'll be like, I just
Okay.
Lord forbid. I been Lord forbid, and I ain't going. But
Okay. There you
I
go.
enjoyed. Thank you. I enjoy interviewing you, and when I interview her, I'm going to make sure I personally test you so you can
Yes.
tune in, or even be a guest with her. So y'all can both you can retell your story, because it's gonna be
Okay.
people who not gonna hear your story because they didn't tune into to this one.
This sounds great. You let me know, and I'm here.
I will.
Yes, ma'am.
But
So thank you so much.
you're so welcome. And yes, growth. That is the word, growth. And you know
Hmm.
what? Everybody growth look different. And I'm not
Hmm.
talking about me, I'm saying in general, everybody growth look different. What you growing from, somebody else probably already did, but it's nothing wrong with it. So yes, growth
Hmm.
is the word for 2021. I'm gonna say that. That's the word for 2021.
Yes,
But with
ma'am.
that, thank you. With that being stated, I'm your host, Crystal J. And this is my co-host today, VaShaun Nicole. She was super dope. I really enjoy having her. And if you need to find her, can you tell my guests what to find you for just in case they want to reach out to you, work for you, need a job or anything, any
Absolutely.
advice?
Absolutely. Well, I tell people all the time, you can always find me on social media under VaShaun Nicole. My full name is VaShaun Mosby, and that's Mosby. You can connect with me at VaShaunNicole.com. Quite literally, Google VaShaun Nicole. You will find me, and let's connect. If you want to look at any of my articles or any of the work that I've done, that's found on linktree.com/VaShaun Nicole. So let's connect. Send me an email, send me a message, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Well, that was super dope. I hope my guests enjoyed you. I'm so sorry for the audio issue, you guys. I noticed on my end I was having some issues today. I don't know what happened because before we went live, it was perfect. Then we went live, she froze the whole time, but now, and my audio was
Wow.
in and out. So I want to apologize to anybody who was trying to listen to this episode because it was a really dope conversation. We was really talking about some things that need to be said, and I hope you guys can take what you could hear and grow from it, or whatever the case may be. But I'm your girl, Crystal J, and thank you guys so much for watching this episode.
Bye.